This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Springfield Township. I call it to order, and I ask that you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heck with that liberty, let's just get on to justice.
Okay, there are a few items on our agenda, but first we'll have a roll call.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Yes, here.
President.
Okay. I'm going to move to dispense with reading of minutes for prior meetings and approve those minutes today.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Next, I move to approve payment of bills and payroll as prepared by the fiscal officer, subject to audit.
Second.
Who did that, Joe?
Yeah.
Joe. Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Next, I move to approve the supplemental appropriations budget for 2023, which is Exhibit A. It deals with an adjustment to expenditure on the, what is the term we gave to that fund?
Drug law.
That what?
Drug law fund, I believe.
Okay, so some of the money that had been confiscated will be applied to programming.
That's right.
Is that correct? Am I?
Moving some of the money that we seized earlier in a drug case. So it's not money that we received from our budget, it wasn't from our levy, and we're moving it to another line so we can spend it.
Okay.
Sure. On a couple items that we need for the police department.
I move to approve that supplemental appropriations for 2023 as prepared by the fiscal officer and submit the same to the Summit County Fiscal Office.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman, you have some matters for the fire department, or at least one item.
I move to approve the proposal from Cleveland Vicon Company for updating and repairs to the door access system and paid from Fund Line 2281-760-790 in the amount of $3,063. $1,123.23 in the amount of $1,766, and $2,081-760-790 in the amount of $180 for a total of $5,009.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
You have a couple matters for the police department.
I move to approve the purchase from Atwell's Police and Fire Equipment for 27 Holliston sites in the amount of $8,640 and paid from Fund Line 2221-210-430.
I would second that.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
I move to approve the purchase from Atwell's Police and Fire Equipment for 31 Safariland Glock holsters in the amount of $4,430 and paid from Fund Line 2221-210-430.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
I move to approve the purchase from Red Diamond Uniform and Police Supply Incorporated for 8 Scout Lights Pro and 8 Red Dots in the amount of $5,935.92 and paid from Fund Line 2221-210-430.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
We have a somewhat of a short agenda. As you can see from the agenda, we have some matters that require an executive session. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to us on any matter? I do want to report a couple of things. And I know that there's some interest in the progress that we're making on matters related to, as we go forward, to assuring efforts to improve the water quality of the lake. First of all, we continue to work with EnviroScience on the project that we indicated that we're going to do across the street, the north side of Waterloo Road. And I know that at our instruction, Mr. Weinsheimer made contact to try to determine where we are on that project because we want to move it forward. Are you able to kind of...
I can give a little bit brief information. I mean, the last time that we had met, we basically said the next step for us at this level is going to be approving the going to bid for this project. So between then and now, they're putting all the bid specs together. They're running it through ODOT, making sure that all the design drawings and everything are going to be what is required for the bids. The last I seen from EnviroScience last week, ODOT had some changes to those drawings, and once those are made, then I believe that at least takes ODOT out of the picture. Then they'll be continuing to work on those bid specifications and that. I don't know how much that'll change in their design of the drawings at this point, though.
So did they give us a timetable that they would likely have?
They did not.
To be built drawings and that we
They
can...
did not. I did not have those drawings that they would need for bid. I don't know at what point they're at with that, because they're working with the county as well.
But they understand we want to move forward.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, part of the delay is we got to go through the process of getting
Right.
ODOT's cooperation.
Our contact person, Sheila, was on vacation. I did try to reach out to her today for more information, and I haven't heard back from her.
Okay. The other thing that I would want to report is that Mr. Weinsheimer and I met in a meeting with Michael Benet of the Summit County Environmental Services, and the result of that meeting is that he indicates that they would be willing to cooperate, and by cooperation to mean give us some of their expertise, but also, I think, financially contribute to some study of the areas around the lake to try to determine, that is, obtain an analysis looking to see if exactly what is the cause of any kind of contaminants that would enter the lake, to see if it's failing on-site systems. And he would like to cooperate with us in an RFP, perhaps engaging environmental science or other reputable organization, that is to study and specifically look at the source of contamination. But I was encouraged by the fact that he really suggested that they would take a significant role in it, financially and also putting together an RFP. Our meeting was just this week with him. So I think we'll be taking the next step to do that. Certainly, we want to continue to look at the viability of some other steps necessary to help in the efforts, particularly in green infrastructure. Is there...
What was, his name was Michael what?
Vinay, V-I-N-A-Y, am I spelling that correctly?
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that?
Thank you.
I wish things moved faster, but anybody have other matters to present to us?
Hi, I'm Sean Moyer on West Parkway. And I have a question I'm posing for David Deese. He said, his question was, he would like to know what the ARP funds were allocated to and what was the budget for that and where did that money go to? I think it was like 800,000 or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we had discussion about that this evening, and we're really taking a look at it. I don't think that we have, there has been some money spent out of it. In particular, we've tried to look forward. The project that I'm talking about across the street, we estimated that may be 250,000 of it. Of course, we haven't spent the money yet. We did spend some money for them to put together.
Yeah, I think we're spending money on the engineering portion of it.
Okay. I did request a report, and I didn't get it from the fiscal officer as to what we've already spent on. And if you give me an opportunity, I'll send that to you. I asked.
It's for him, so
Okay.
it would be interesting.
But we're looking forward in time because we're going to have to make a commitment. And there is a timeline on encumbering it and spending it. Correct.
On a separate note, it is good to know that the township is moving forward with doing something for the lake. You know, it's been a few years since the task force report, and Lakemore really stepped up to the plate. They have sewer projects going, stormwater projects going. They're holding citizens accountable for the new rules that they have with stormwater management and gutter management. And they really changed their whole game plan and are really moving things forward over there between Tracy Sayers and Rich Cole and the council. They're really putting the hammer down. But it is disappointing that the township hasn't moved much more than an inch, in moving forward. We're dual owners. There's many plans out there to help. The retention ponds are just an idea. By the way, the contact at EnviroScience, I think, is past Sheila. I have somebody else if you'd like to have that. He sent me the engineering drawings a while ago, so I don't know if you have it.
Was is Sheila not the person?
Yeah, Sheila's there. She was just on vacation.
That other guy, okay.
Kevin, I have
Zoning changes that could happen to help the whole township, stormwater management plan in conjunction with Lakemore, making OC district changes to help protect the waterfront. It's just disappointing. It's been 3 years. I personally have done a little bit of work on this, and it is just defeating to not go anywhere with it. And although I know you're all on board, you have to do something. Just something would be great. You said Vinay is going to look at the lakefront parcels, but is the EPA involved too? Whatever happened with that? Bill Zawiski met with me. Whatever happened with that? With Sawyerwood? Anything?
So far, we've not gotten a report, and we requested.
Has anybody contacted him?
Yeah, we requested that. We don't know what they're thinking or doing. One of the things I would say, you deserve a lot of credit for the movement that when you say that Lakemore is stepping up, you were an irritant in the process to force it.
Well, then perhaps that's what the township needs.
There's a difference. One of the things that's difficult here, there is a difference between the municipal form of government and the township form. This thing of this relic of the rural Ohio. We don't have the authority that a municipality has, and in a lot of respect, we know, for example, that probably the best solution would be to bring to this area sanitary sewers. But we don't have the authority to do that, and we can't seem to get one of the entities that maintain sanitary system to step in and do it. absent a petition from individual property owners or the health department declaring that there's a public nuisance.
I say you skip the health department. I think you should involve the EPA, which is who I've said all along. You know, if we've taken water sample tests and the township has actually paid for it, and we've demonstrated that there's an overabundance of septic effluent in the water, and we've documented it, but it's sitting on somebody's desk, I still think it's your job to push the envelope and say, this is for the health of our citizens. You know, it's easy to say, Michelle, go door to door, but
Okay,
I feel like the game should have been stepped up a long time ago by you guys.
Okay, in our discussion with Vinay, we talked specifically about that kind of testing, and that's where we came out with the idea, okay, we're gonna have to have some scientific determination that points to the fact that there is a public nuisance. And that's what he suggested. His department's willing to be involved. I have to say that on the issue of testing, we go back to what will be acceptable scientific testing to say that the problem is on-site systems that are creating the contamination. And that we talked about that, and in my discussion, and Ted and I, we talked about the need to bring sanitary sewer to the areas of the township that could contribute to it. And he said, well, then a next step would be, let's engage somebody to see whether that is really the cause.
I mean, it all sounds great, but I'm talking about 3 years later, so please forgive me if I am a bit at the end of my rope, because I feel like I've been pushing the envelope, but it takes the council, takes the township trustees to push forward and make any kind of progress.
You participated with us with the county engineers meeting. Did we not try to push the county engineer?
I think you have to go over the county engineer. It needs to go not to public health, because they are without the ability to do anything, to say it lightly, but it has to go to the EPA to demonstrate that even if it's just one failing septic system, somebody has to find it. Even if that's the only measure of what we can find, that's better than nothing. And you know, maybe even if you got sanitary sewer, we're talking 10, 15 years down the road. In the meantime, if it's one guy dumping his sewage out in the yard that's causing all that, aren't we farther ahead? I'll just leave you with that. But thank you.
But you've personally been involved in the work with the health department. What kind of success
That's
do
why
you
I
have
said
working with the health department?
I didn't say go to the health department. I said go to the EPA, who is over the health department. The health department has to see it, smell it, or step in it, and they can't do any of that. So it has to go higher than that.
The health department's not been effective.
They're not effective. They have their own set of rules that they have to follow, and in this case, they're not effective. I suggest the township go higher, and I can give you the contact information, but you have to ask what's going on and do something. Just do something. You know, and retentions are one thing for stormwater, but again, if it's only 1 or 2 people with a failing septic system and we find it, that helps everybody. Because it is a health concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, well, they could, if we got a determination by the EPA that there was a public nuisance, then they would compel the installation of
How do you do that when you can't go on the property?
Well, I think they can, but isn't the beginning, come back to, isn't the beginning to have testing?
First is testing.
Okay, there was, I mean, I don't understand the fight that we have over dry testing and storm, wet water testing.
Wet weather, you get your first flush, which is unfortunately what you took the majority of.
Which is not agreed to by Ohio. Ohio EPA did not agree with that, so I take it from the record.
And they need to do the dry weather test 72 hours later to determine that. And that's where the problem lies. The testing that you did is thrown out the window.
If that were true, then all that testing that we did for Lakemore would have been thrown out, because that was wet weather testing. The videos are wet weather testing. And wet weather testing, whether it's upheld by public health for their identification of outfall failures, is completely different. Wet weather testing is well documented, and it's utilized by the EPA. And I had to demonstrate, by the way. We didn't do one single test, by the way. You do 20 minutes after it starts, measure the rainfall, what's the time, do it 20 minutes later, what's the time, what's the rainfall. There's a whole subset of things. I don't think we can critique wet weather testing unless we understand how it's applied.
Did
in this
Lakemore
case.
contact the EPA? How did they, what was their?
Well, they met me out here and said, okay, we understand, this is where we're going to go. Every house has to be tested, if they're failing, then you have to show how many are failing, what's the percentage, which ones can be fixed, which ones can't.
You're talking about that's what
they told me.
The
Right.
analysis that EPA would go through.
Gave me, yes, that was his synopsis of what would happen
Okay,
next.
but how does EPA propose to compel testing of all of the on-site systems? That's always been the struggle. That
Again, they're over public health. They're the boss of public health.
So they can do things that public health can't?
They can
they can instruct or
instruct
compel.
and compel.
But it doesn't there have to be a predicate to that there has to be some underlying testing that
And they would have to do
indicates
that.
there's a public nuisance.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they would have to. But you can't take my word for it, they have to do their own.
On this thing of testing, I have to say that in our meeting, Mr. Benet was critical of wet weather testing.
Then I'll have a conversation with him about it.
I mean, I think that would be helpful. The wet weather testing that you did indicated a problem that would be emanating from the higher
Yes.
ground across the street.
Yes.
But, I mean, he seems to feel that there's another technique that has to be followed in order to establish.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe there's a lot of groundhogs sitting in the ditch. Who knows?
You're better educated on it than I am. If you want to help us with the information, the next time that I'm talking to Mr. Benet, I mean, I think it would be helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
We'll have to agree to
Thank you.
disagree about wet weather testing.
Anybody else? Thank you. If not, we have a couple of things that we have to consider in executive session. I would move to adjourn to executive session for purposes of discussing appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or other terms and conditions of employment, and also to discuss potential purchase of property. The session to include the Board of Trustees, its administrative assistant, and other department heads as called upon by the board.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro?
Yes.
Okay,